everybody, and welcome to GenFriends. I am your host, Cheri Hudson Passey from Carolina Girl Genealogy with a little bit of froggy voice from my trip to Europe and back. With me on the panel is Melissa Barker, our archive lady. Hi, Melissa. How are
Hi,
you?
Cheri. Doing great, doing great. Looking forward to talking about some shows tonight.
Yes, I'm very excited about this. We also have Mary. I don't know where Mary went. So Mary will come back in a minute from MKR
I'm
Genealogy.
back. I'm back.
Are you back? We're just seeing your
Yes,
name.
you're just going to see my name because my connection is unstable. So if I
Okay.
cut out the video,
Oh,
then you can hear me and I can hear you. So,
well.
you'll just get my name tonight.
Oh, well, that's okay. Well, we'll miss seeing your face, but we're glad that your voice will be with us. So, and then back from her trip to Europe, we've got Kathryn Lake Hogan. We're so glad that you're here. Looking for Ancestors is the name of your blog. How are you? Do you have jet lag like I do?
I'm finally over my jet lag. I feel like I'm finally back on the correct time for my time zone. It took a lot longer than I thought, though. Yeah.
I've only been back for 2 days, and my jet lag, y'all, is so bad. I tried to start our recording an hour early. So, yeah, I still have the jet lag. I still have the froggy voice. So, anyway, what we're going to do tonight is we are going to talk about day 6 and day 7 of relative race because I was gone and couldn't record. There wasn't a time where we could get together and record. So we are going to talk about both days, and we're going to try not to jump ahead and talk about day 7 while we're talking about day 6. So we'll see if we can handle that. Day 6 started out with Chris Day Green. Day Green. On day, see, I'm telling you, I am so jet lagged and so tired. So day 6, Team Green was actually at Chris's cousin's house. And that's where they left from. And what was very interesting about that is this is the cousin that was adopted. And so
Yes.
this was the first family that she had met. And she gave to Shay a little token, a little ring to remember her by. And I just thought that was so sweet that she did that. And then they left her saying, we're going to be back and we're going to help you find your family.
I thought that was so sweet.
Wasn't that sweet? I just thought, and that ring said, wherever life takes you, we'll go together. And I just thought, oh, that was so really sweet. Team Blue on day 6, her Demetra's cousin gave her that compilation photo. Do y'all remember that? She had taken photos of her mom, her father, which she had never seen before. She'd never seen a picture of her father, and she had taken that and the 2 sisters, Anitra and her sister, and made this combination photo. So she had a family photo, and I thought that was so sweet.
And didn't one of the family members sketch that from photos?
Yes, from photos that they had. And so, antenna kind of goes off. Wait a second. Somebody's got a photo of the father. I wonder somewhere along the way she's going to meet her father. It's going to be, we still got days. We still got times left. Yeah, I loved that. What a beautiful, beautiful gift. Was somebody going to say something? I couldn't tell. Okay, so they are playing for immunity on day 6.
Yeah.
They are playing for immunity. And I remember
That's a big one.
That is a big one. And it's always interesting how the different teams react to getting that immunity. We had one once that they went to the beach and they went all sorts of places. Others still try to get that time up in there. So it just depends on how they choose to play that out if they win the immunity. What else happened on day 6? Also they were told on day 6 is they were going to have something extra in their cars.
Right.
Yes.
That they had to go. Anybody want to talk about what was extra, what they found in their cars? It was a
I'm
little.
sure.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Well, and some of them, they get in the car and then they're driving along. Oh, and remember, and they had, it was called a golden ticket, and so this was, I thought, was something that was really, really nice, relative race to do for the teams. So each team gets a golden ticket, and then if they strike out, this golden ticket allows them to compete allows them to continue, not compete, allows them to continue on their journey for one more day. So they get to meet the next relative that's been set up. And so they don't miss out on that. So I think they did a little bit of that last season with Team Black, that they were able to continue on. So I guess everybody, on relative rate decided this was a really good thing. So all the teams now have that opportunity. So if they strike out before day 10 and they don't get to meet everybody that they thought they were going to meet, they get that opportunity to meet at least one more relative. That next person that they're supposed to meet, they get to meet that person.
Yeah, I love that. I thought that was a good touch. I agree with you. I think it has something to do with the Team Black, because everybody loved that we got to, even though that they had got their 3 strikes, we got to see them go and meet their next relative. And so I think that was a really touching moment, and I see that's helpful too, because we get so attached to the team. So it helps us kind of say that final goodbye. Okay, they get to at least meet one more person. And I'm hoping that this will be part of the show, that they'll actually video whomever they get to see, like they did Team Black from last season. So I'm hoping that we'll get to see that. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. And see. But I think that would be really nice if they would let us see what's going to happen with them. My big old pile of notes here. So I thought it was really interesting that Team Black was going to American Fork, is where they were sent up. And American Fork, what's really interesting is the friend of mine that I was in Europe with, that I watched the show with, was actually from American Fork. And she was like, I know that place. I know the movie theater. It was really fun to have her watch it with me, because she's she's from there. So that must have been good yet bad to be so close to home and kind of know the area and those emotions of being close to home. But then again, you kind of feel like you've got a home court advantage, don't you? Because you
kind of know
you know where you're going. And then trying to read my notes is what I'm trying to do. Team Green. So Deshay, as they're driving, she's got her notepad and she's going through those names. I mean, she's got that checklist. And she is wondering about, because she's got that baby bracelet and the mother's name says Debbie on it. And she knows her aunt's name is Deborah. So all this time she's wondering, could this be, maybe she's her mom? She doesn't know. And so she's narrowing down that list. And I can't even imagine that, I'm sure as they're driving, she's looking at that all the time. That's got to be something that's just weighing on her mind. Which one of these people is going to be my biological parent? That's just got to be weighing on her mind. Yeah, I can't even imagine. So they're same thing on day 6. They're having traffic backups. Team Red actually had a tanker truck that was filling up a swimming pool.
Yes.
They had to wait for that. I like them when some of them, when they were getting their tickets, for making up songs about "we have a golden ticket." It was, I think,
that was cute.
Do something. I guess they've got to do something, right? Because that's got to be monotonous and stressful. So you got to do something to kind of get through the day. Get through the day. So the challenge on this,
that was fun,
was really funny. Flicks and picks, and they had to, it was a series of emojis, and from those emojis they had to guess the title of a movie. And I think that would be a really fun game, again, especially if you've got a lot of teenagers and kids doing that.
Although they kept using that green frog to represent green. You know, and I'm like, it's a frog. It's more frog than it is green.
Exactly. And I was throwing people off too. It was throwing people off. So they would throw up these series of emojis and you had to kind of come up with whatever the name may be. Now, Deshay said that she's the queen of emojis, so she was all good with that. But JD says,
poor JD.
He was not there.
No, he says, I've never used an emoji in my life. And then he says, and what adult sends us to another adult? And I thought, well, we've just gotten into it. Now, some of these were lucky guesses, like they had the devil. The devil wears Prada. It's just a lucky guess. But some of them, it was very, very hard to figure out.
It was hard.
It's very hard, but fun at the same time. So they finally made it all through that. JT finally makes it all through.
Well, with the help of his wife Jen, I mean, because he was clueless.
They may still be sitting in that movie theater if it wasn't for Jen. So you never know. I'm sure they would have just said, "Okay, that's enough. You're just gonna have to get a penalty for sitting in here for so long." So they get to their relatives. And of course, this is the part that we all love anyways. They get to their relatives. And Anitra meets her grandmother's sister. Oh, and she just
such a sweet meeting.
Wasn't that? She just hugged her and said, she says, I've been waiting for you. And it was just so, so sweet for her to be able to do that. And Anitra had the opportunity to ask her about her birth. What happened? What was going on? What do you know? And I think the story is something a lot different than what she had imagined it to be. And if anybody else can remember or want to take over and talk about the story, please feel free. About her.
I think she said she was born at home.
Yes.
And then after that, I'm not sure.
Her mom was only 17 years old.
Yeah.
And had already had her sister.
And
so here she is within a year having another baby.
Yep.
And so she called 911.
Yep.
Had them come get her because she just knew she couldn't handle another child. So, but at least, I mean, that's so sad, but at least Anitra now has the story. She knows what happened. She's not imagining this or imagining that. She knows the actual story now. And
well, knowing the truth, I mean, a lot of us know that if you can just know the truth, it helps. Even if the truth is hurtful, even the truth is bad, or just knowing the truth, it just settles your soul.
It gives you that little bit of closure, and you're not wondering anymore, because I think sometimes we even make up worse things in our heads as we think about things than the truth, and I think she understood that it was something that her biological mom did out of necessity. It wasn't, I just didn't want her. It was, survival for Anitra and survival for her mom. So I think she understood that. I really do. And then her grandmother's sister said, are you willing to go to the cemetery? And it took her a minute.
It did. Anitra's one of those, and she did it in, I don't remember what episode it was, when she actually had to stop, and she said, it was like a voiceover thing, and she said, when I face these kinds of things, I have to stop and make myself stop. Sure. And she takes in the moment, and she really, which is, something to be learned for all of us, I think.
Yeah. Instead of just jumping right into it, she wanted to think about it. And then, she said she would go. And I loved what her husband was saying. Paul was saying, he's there to support her and went with her and wants her to know that he's there for her. And so I thought that was a very sweet moment. And they did. They went to the cemetery, and she said she just felt this connection, and she told her mom, she says, you did the right thing because I had a great life, and thank you for making that choice and giving me the life that I had. And so
I think that was a lot of closure for her.
Oh, a lot of closure for her. Oh, yeah.
And then her great aunt, I guess it was her great aunt, was hugging her and told her, said, your mother's here in spirit.
Yeah.
And so that's really cool.
Yeah, I thought so too. It was a very, very special moment. It was a very special moment for her to be willing to share with the TV audience, and I thought that was a very special thing for her to do that. And by her doing that, she's helping other people that are in the same types of situations as well. You know that there's got to be people watching that have had something similar, and maybe through Anitra's closure, how she's handling it, it's helping somebody else to be able to do the same thing. So I thought that was really, really wonderful. So Team Black had to find a white truck in the middle of nowhere.
That was
And if you've
interesting.
been in Utah, there's a lot of middle of nowhere places. But it was raining really, really hard. Raining so hard. They could barely see the truck. They finally find the truck. And when they get there, it's just mud everywhere. This guy gets out of the truck and runs over and says, "I'm going to have to take you to your relative. Your car is not going to make it."
Yeah. You know what I couldn't figure out, and maybe someone will remember that something was said, is I can remember if those people lived in those homes, or they were just like camping out there or something.
I think they were camping.
Yeah,
that's what it looked like to me. Yeah.
Almost like we need to pull everybody together. So this is where we're going to do it, right here. Everybody just bring your motor home.
Yeah.
And we'll camp, and then we'll bring JD and Jen to us. That's how I felt that it was happening. So I might be wrong, but that's kind of the impression that I got. So JD was able to go, and he met a cousin, and he met his grandmother's brother. And he said by meeting him, he feels like he met his grandmother. And so I thought that was very sweet. And there was a bunch of family there.
Was.
That's probably why they had to do it in the campground, because there were so many of them. Where else were they going to go? But I have loved JD's journey because he's so loving with all these people that he's meeting. He's so
real.
He's so real. Yeah, and respectful of them, and just enjoying and relishing every moment and just soaking it all in and taking it in. And I've loved watching him when he meets his relatives. So, and he just wants to know everything. And he's so grateful for any little bit of information. And he said, when I started this out, at first I didn't even know if I needed to meet these people. Was this something that I really wanted to do? And he says, now I'm just so grateful for this new family that I found. So
I will say though, at the beginning of episode 6, was he not leaving his sister from day 5?
I'm not sure. I think
he was. And so it was really hard for him to leave her.
Yes, I think you are right that's the episode that he was leaving. Yeah. Yeah. It's got to be hard to make these quick connections like that, because you still want to talk. But it's a race, and you got to keep going. You got to keep going. So luckily we know from talking to the contestants and talking to others that work on the show that they go back. They go back. It's not like they go to this, do relative race and they never connect with them again, that's just it. They don't see them anymore. They go back and they spend more time, and they learn more about their families and share more. So I think that's really great. So then Ray on Team Red.
Yes.
He meets a cousin on his mom's side. And again, he gets more names for his chart. I am having so much fun watching him carefully write those names on that chart as he goes back into the past. And these are great grandparents. And she showed him the census records, 1920 and 1930 census records. And I was like, "Ooh, we got some records! We got some records on this show." And he was fascinated that these were handwritten records that dealt with his family and the generations. He was so happy to see that, and I guess we kind of take it for granted sometimes, because in our work we see census records a lot. And for somebody, and I remember that made me remember the first time I saw family on the census record. Families' names that I knew and knew living, and I saw them, my great grandmother, my great aunt, seeing them on that census record because I knew them. And I thought that was the most incredible thing. And so you could just see in Ray's face that he was so happy to be able to see that family on census records. So I thought it was great that they actually showed some records.
Yes, that was
on
great.
This episode. Yeah, on this episode. So let's see oh yeah, we didn't get to who Deshay was able to meet, Team Green, on this one, because remember, she's thinking to herself, well, I've got the bracelet. It says Deborah on it. Maybe this is who I'm meeting. And if I do get to meet her, will she tell me that she's my mom? Maybe that's the connection. So
when she goes up to the house.
Yeah, they're trying.
And she was already crying.
She was already crying. And so I thought she was going to say, Deshay, I'm your mother. But she said, Deshay, I'm your aunt.
Like, well, she said, I'm Debbie. And then, of course, when you hear Debbie, you're like, oh, it's got to be your mother. And then she says, I'm your aunt. She
looks so much like her. I mean, she looked like she was going to be Deshay's mother. Just
I agree with you.
Couldn't help but see that. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with you. And I was like, oh, well, check another one off the list. So now it's got to be, well, what that proved to her was that she was related to the Love family through her father. But at this time, there's still 2 men left. One's passed away, one hasn't. And so she had a really wonderful meeting with her aunt, though. I think the bonding was great. And, you know, she kept saying, we didn't know we had a Deshay. But we're really glad that we do. I thought that was really cute. We didn't know we had a Deshay. So another episode where I think everybody, the connections are coming through. The charts are being filled out. I just, you know, one step at a time as we're going through this. The Skype call again was emotional, especially when Anitra had to tell everybody that she went to her mother's grave. That touched everybody.
It did.
To the point where Ray, as they were ending the show and going off, was just crying, saying, here I was so worried about who I was going to get directions from, you know, was I driving the right way? What was my time? All that kind of stuff. And he says, and this poor girl had to go to her mother's grave. You know, he just, it just really got to him. It really touched his heart. He just really was sad about that. You could see it, that he just was thinking, oh, the priorities. This is about family. Yes, we want to, you know, do well in the race and we don't want to get these strikes. But while I was worried about all this, she was at her mother's grave. And that just shows you they're so connected. This group of, you know, 4 teams, they're so connected this year. So we go to the results, and we're worried stiff because red team already has 2 strikes coming in. And as much as you don't want another team to get a strike, if another team gets a strike, well, then everybody stays on for one more day.
Right.
And so blue team comes in, number 1. And as we are, you know, like drum rolls are going through, it was the black team that got their 2nd strike, meaning Team Red gets to hang on for another day. And so, and you know, JD said, I would rather get the strike if it means them being able to stay. So I thought that was very generous of him to say that. So that means coming into day 7, then the blue team gets immunity, meaning they can't get a strike. They've got a free pass. They've got a free pass. So exciting for them. They're doing well. They're doing very well with their times and all the things that they're doing. So, but again, another emotional Skype call, very emotional Skype call. And I think there was a lot of relief when, of course, Team Black, I was sad for them. They got another strike, but I think that that all of the teams were happy that they got to move on. To
as long as they can all move on, I think they're happy that way.
Yes, I think if these teams had their say about it, they would want all of them to go all the way. If it was statistically possible, I don't think any of them want anybody to go home. They're really just so, they're just, I don't know. And we've talked about this before. There's something unique about this group that they have just really from day one just supported each other so much, and you can tell that by their bands. They're
It's so very nice that they do that.
Yeah, I think that that's wonderful. So we are going to move on to day 7, but we wanted to give a warning, didn't we?
So before you watch day 7, before you carry on with us for day 7, make sure that you've watched the episode, because there will be huge spoiler alerts, and I'm going to tell you right now, need one of these, or at least one, if not more.
More.
Maybe a box of one of the.
That's right. So pause us, go watch day 7, or go back and review day 7, and then come back and join us.
Oh,
so there's your warning.
There's your warning.
Yes.
The spoiler alert warning. Day 7 was amazing.
Yeah.
It was absolutely amazing. We start out with Team Blue.
Who do you want to start out with?
Well, we'll start out with Team Blue, because they've got immunity. Got immunity, and they're so cute in the car, because Paul decides that he's going to test.
Oh, that would have made me mad.
Mapping skills. And they went around in a circle for 20 minutes because he was testing her. She's like, we wasted 20 minutes going around in a circle. But I guess he was just trying to prove a point. But it was really quite funny.
It was.
They
seem like real. Go ahead, Mary.
I would have been really mad if he had done that to me, because basically they wasted the chance to get that prize, and it was 5 minutes of GPS.
Well, that's true. They could have won. Yeah, they could have won. You're absolutely right. They could have won.
That's right. I think they had it in. Go ahead.
They were doing, I think pretty well, and he basically stole that from his wife. It's like he made me really mad.
She laughed. I guess she thought it was funny. So hopefully that didn't cause any issues between the two of them. They seem to be okay with it. Before I really don't want to go into who they met until we kind of just talk a little bit about the race that day and the challenge, because the challenge was another really
I laughed out loud. I just literally laughed out loud.
One of the most hysterical challenges that I think I've seen, and they called it animal. Sorry.
Animal antics.
Animal antics. Now we got some music going. Animal antics. And it was kind of like a charades game where they had all these props that were, there. And then they had an animal, but the animal was doing something. Like they had a snappy lion, and they had a crazy dolphin. I mean, just all sorts of things like that. But they had to act it out. They had to get the prop, then they had to act it out. And the other team member had to guess what they were doing. And
they did all this on film. Do you think about this? It's going to be out there forever.
Everybody to see. But yet another game that would be hysterically funny to play at a family reunion.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness. That would just be, I can't even imagine my kids, my grandkids trying to play this. I think it would just be hysterical. For some of them, it took a while. JD and Jen had never played charades. How do you
they don't do emojis. They don't do charades.
How do you get through life with never playing charades?
Yep.
I don't get it. So anyway, so they had kind of a tough time with that one. So, anyway, so yet another really funny. But I noticed that the last 2 days they're rocking those selfies. They're not having issues. I think they figured it out. And they're doing a really good job of doing those selfies. So let's get into who everybody met, because this is gonna get really emotional, guys. If you haven't seen it, like Kathryn said, we don't want to spoil it for you. Get your tissues, and we'll just start going through. We'll start with Anitra. She met a cousin on her father's side. So, she's met the people on her mother's side. She knows a lot now about her mom. She was able to go visit the grave, and the day before, she knows her father.
I think they're gearing her up to meet her father.
That's what
because they gave her because remember she got the picture in episode
and a name. She's got a name.
Yes, and now she's met a cousin on her father's side, so I think we're gearing up to
and this was a second cousin because her father, the cousin's father, and Anitra's father are brothers. So obviously she knows him. I think you're right. I think we're gearing up. To meet the dad.
And the reason why we probably didn't meet him on episode 7 was because we couldn't have handled it.
Oh no.
With everything else that was going on.
Oh no. We could not have handled that at all. Could not have handled it. Okay. Deshay. Guys, Deshay. You know what? When she says, whose relative are you? Number one, you knew it was Deshay's relative because he looked just like her. And then when he says, I'm your father, it just, guys, Deshay met her fathers.
Picture they keep showing.
Yeah. Yeah. Look just like her. Absolutely look just like her. Ugh. And it looks like
he said.
And just in case on this recording,
I'm your dad.
Yeah.
Kind of.
Yeah, that was.
She's stopped.
Lost you there.
Okay, I can hear you guys. I don't know if you can hear me at all. So
no, we can.
You can.
You were paused there for a minute.
Okay. All of a sudden, I got a notice that said my internet was not stable. I'm like, oh no! Don't kick us off.
Well, that's why I'm off, and I'm off on my video just because the video takes a lot of bandwidth, and so if you are unstable,
if it does it again, I will click off the video. I will click off the video because we got some important stuff here. So, like we were talking about, Deshay meets her dad. I can't even, guys. That was just so emotional, and he was telling her that he didn't know anything about her.
No, he didn't know.
Yeah. So it's not even like she could say, "Why didn't you come find me? Why didn't you?"
Yeah.
He just didn't know, but took her
in.
And
he has another daughter. I thought that was interesting.
Right. So she has a half sister. So maybe part of this journey she'll be able to meet the half sister. That would be incredible.
Maybe.
So,
and
can I ask something here?
Yes.
Why? I mean, I guess they just can't, but it just seems so unnatural that her first question to him, or maybe not her first, but among the early questions is, who is my mom?
Yeah.
And I mean, they could, obviously for the show, they're probably told not, or they edit it out if she asks it for whatever reasons. But it just, to me, it seems he's the one person that would have some idea. I mean, a pretty good idea.
But he said he was kind of around her, so maybe he doesn't know who her mother is.
Okay, but it's not an unlimited quantity. I mean, no matter how much of a rounder he was.
Yeah, right.
Well, and if she thinks it's Debbie, then that kind of narrows down the pack too, I would say.
True. If she has her band that has Deborah on it.
She could say, the name is, do you remember Debbie? And it could be that because she's going to be able to meet the mom, they don't want to spoil that. And so it could have been edited out. He could have told her and they edited it out.
Right.
I think they did some editing there because they didn't really go into they didn't do any backstory on him because sometimes they'll talk a little bit about at least their part in the history of the contestant, and there was none of that.
That's true.
None of that. So it could be very sensitive information that they just decided, what, we're not gonna. He may have not wanted that included in the broadcast. So
it's very true.
We don't know.
True. Yeah,
we don't know. But then guess who else did she meet though?
She got an extra.
She got
Grandmary.
Grandmary.
So sweet. She's 91 years old.
Is she really?
Yeah.
She doesn't look like it.
I got a tweet from her telling me that she had just turned 91 years old. Isn't that amazing?
It's amazing. And she wrote that poem.
Oh yeah.
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 That was sweet.
Yeah, that was really, really sweet. I love how they call her Grand Mary too. I think that's I think that's so, so sweet. So she really got a good twofer, on this episode, and the tears, it was so emotional. Just
Yep.
and even the Skype call when she introduced them, she could barely get the words out. I've met my dad and my grandmother. Just that's what this
And
whole
everyone else just really had a reaction too.
Yeah, all of them just touching their hearts and just tears, and Jen and JD just crying, wiping their eyes. Everybody was just so emotional for her because
the other thing
yeah,
I
go
thought,
ahead.
I'm sorry, that was
No.
so cool about that is when her dad took them to the train station.
Yes.
And there was the waiting room that was named after his father.
Yeah.
And they had the picture of his father and, his grandma's husband there on the wall. And I mean, those love genes are so strong. I mean, he looked the spitting image of his father. That could have been his picture on the wall. Seriously.
Yeah, exactly.
It just was amazing to me.
Yeah, that was really, really special. That was really special.
So she met her father and her grandparents and
her grandmother and
her grandmother, but they get just meet by picture.
Right. Learn about him. Yeah,
exactly.
So she got a lot on day 7.
Yes, she did. She got a lot, and she caused us all to cry a lot on day 7. Ray. Ray. The minute the car drove up and he looked over, he knew exactly who he was meeting.
Well, he'd seen pictures of him.
Yeah. He meets his brother. This brother that he'd always kind of been angry with. The situation he'd been angry with. Why did they choose him and not me? The story that he was given was that when the mom got pregnant again so quickly, she just wasn't going to be able to handle it, and also she didn't want her parents to know that she'd gotten pregnant again, and so that is why he was given up for adoption. And at first I thought, I hope that's going to be enough of an explanation. Do you know what I mean? Enough of a, well, it's because she was too afraid to say that she was pregnant with you, that kind of thing. But I thought Ray took it really well, and he did seem to feel some closure in that. And that hugging between brothers was incredible. He says, I've got a brother, and
his brother never knew about him.
Never knew about him. And it turns out they have different fathers. And that's something Ray didn't know about either, is that they had different fathers. He did not know that. And that, I think, made a lot of difference too, because he didn't have a mom and a dad that both said, we don't want you. So the narration changed, the story changed, and he said his anger had just dissipated over the whole thing. Of knowing the truth helped his anger. He said, I've been angry all my life, and this has helped my anger. So watching them hug it out was incredible. And of course, more tears. I'm like, okay, guys, do we have to have these strong stories in the same episode? Because we're already a weeping bunch of mess. And here we go, more weeping bunch of mess. But
Ray even said, he said, I've cried more than I have my entire life.
and he got down on his knees. He wouldn't even go into the home before he got down on his knees and thanked God for this opportunity of meeting his brother. And I thought that was so sweet. I thought that was just an amazing thing for him to do. And then once again, off to the cemetery. Now it's Ray's turn on day 7 to go talk to his mother. And he said, I'm not angry with you anymore. And he apologized to her for being angry to begin with, and saying that he understood, why she did what she did. And so him getting those words out like that has got to just heal that hole in his heart. It has to for him to be able to do that and say those words to her. It was so emotional and so touching, and I felt we were really, invading on a very private moment. And I believe that if he'd have felt that it was too much, that they would have cut it out. and they wouldn't have shown that bit. And so he must have felt that he needed the audience to see that, because again, I'm sure it's helped somebody in that same situation be able to see, what he went through. There's probably people watching the show that are going through the same type of journey.
I think day 7 was very cathartic
Yes.
for Ray.
Yes.
Highly emotional, but just being able to process and actually, getting the truth. Like Melissa had said earlier, sometimes that's all you need. You just need to know the truth, no matter how hard it is. Yes. But then you're able to deal with it. You're able to deal with those facts, and like he said, all those things he had created. Scenarios and things in his mind that he was angry at. And so he said he wasn't so much angry at the people, he was angry at that emptiness because he didn't have the answers. And so I think, going to what you had said, Cheri, about his mother and the decision, to give him up because she didn't want to disappoint her parents, he seemed okay with that because it was an answer. It was an answer to why.
Right.
So, that emptiness has now been filled with answers, and now he's able to process it and be able to give up that anger and realize that, his mom, the biological mother, she never remarried. She never married. She never married, period. Right. And the way she seemed to live her life, was not what he expected.
Yes.
Because Lamont had said, okay, she never married. She never drove a car. She was very protective over him.
Yeah.
And so those were things I don't think that Ray was expecting to hear. I think
I agree with you.
Initially, he was expecting to hear, that she married the father, and that Lamont lived, the classic, family story of mom and dad and all that.
Exactly.
And that wasn't true. So what he had built up in his mind wasn't actually what happened. And I think it was very cathartic for him. And then just being able to go to the cemetery and just having that conversation. Just having that conversation with his mom and just letting it go. Letting it all go. And I thought his wife, Nicole, she just said, I'm just so glad I was here for this, that I got to witness all of this.
Right.
Yeah.
And, and regarding that too, Dan at the Skype call mentioned that at least he knew where his mom was buried, because there's so many people that don't even know that much. They know nothing. They don't have a name. It would have been wonderful had she still been alive, but at least he knows now where she is, who she is, and where she is. And he has more than what a lot of people have. And I thought that was an interesting statement too, and it's so true. There's so many people that are still out there looking. So like we said, more tears, just more tears. And then we move on to Team Black. So again, Jen meets a cousin, and this cousin is able to give her photographs of people on her mother's side that she didn't even know. And I thought that was really cool that she was able to get these photographs, because there's something about getting photographs and meeting ancestors that you didn't know about. So I thought that was great for Jen. She's had a little bit of family history given to her along the way in this journey. I think that's been really good for her. Chris has on Team Green.
I think it's interesting that I think it's interesting that Jen twice now, I think she's met one of her relatives, and each time she says, well, I thought I knew all my relatives.
Yes.
And that's a lesson for us as well as genealogists. Even when you think you know all your relatives, it may be there is a second cousin, third cousin, something even closer that you don't know is out there that maybe, you'll find during your research.
Exactly. So that was fun. Chris has gotten to meet a couple of cousins, and, so it's not only just been about one person in each team. So that's kind of fun when they can find those connections for them too. And people, they weren't expecting it. They were expecting to be on these on this journey for their spouse, and so to have some fun. Yeah. And I don't feel like Deshay or JD have acted like, they don't need to find out these people. I'm the one that needs this information. They haven't acted like that. They've been very happy that their spouse is connected with somebody.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you could imagine somebody maybe being a little selfish, thinking, wait a second, this is supposed to be for me to find my biological, my parents here. And, so they've been very supportive of their spouse finding people too. And I really, really appreciated that. And of course, then we have to get to the Skype call and which I love, the Skype call and how they're sharing with one another. And all 4 teams are in tears, with Deshae finding her dad. And, they're just, and Ray finding his brother. They were just all so emotional and all in tears. Dan's emotional about it. Everybody's emotional about it. You can't fake that. You can't fake that. That wasn't we'll be happy for them, but really we want them to strike out and go home. You can't,
No.
you know what I mean? You can't.
And again, they said, some of them even said, I'll take a strike so everybody can just stay.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. I think, relative race people, I think that might be an interesting option sometime to offer to give up your first place prize or whatever you're saying in order for one of the teams, if one of the teams got a strike, but they wouldn't be able to go, they wouldn't go home, kind of neutralize that or something. I think that would be an interesting thing to see if one of the teams would volunteer to take that strike from them so that the team wouldn't have to go home.
That would be interesting.
I think with this group, one of them would have. I think with this group, one of them would have.
I think so.
I really do. I really do.
Yeah, because with Team Blue having that immunity, you had Team Red already had 2 strikes. Team Black already has 2 strikes. I mean, I was kind of hoping that Team Green, is going to be the team that gets the strike today because
that way everybody
they could afford it. You know what I mean?
Yes,
that would allow that's going to allow Team Black and Team Red to have another day. So.
Yeah, I think that would be an interesting little twist to see. So if anybody's out there's listening that has anything to do with the show, we think that might be something that,
we have to put that bug in Dan's ear for next season.
Yeah. Just to see. But it could cause a lot of contention too if somebody said no. So I don't know. We may never have a set of teams this close again. And so it may have only been something that would be unique to this season, to season 6. So, but it's worth mulling and pondering and thinking about to see if it would work, right? We can always throw in our suggestions. So we do get down to the results. And unfortunately, our dear Team Black gets that 3rd strike. Now Blue wins again. So they get 5 minutes of GPS for day 8. And that could make all the difference in the world for them again. They just might come in first again and have this big old long winning streak. But unfortunately, JD and Jen, and fortunately for them, they're so close to home because on this particular day, they had to drive right by a turnoff to their house. Which had to have just been so hard to think and she said, if we just went down this road, we'd be home. So at least they didn't have far to go. But they do have that ticket. They have their golden ticket. And hopefully we will see who it is that they get to go meet. And I'm wondering who would be up for JD. Do you have any thoughts? Because he's not going to meet his father because his father's passed away.
What is mother?
And well, he knows his mom because it was just the dad that was.
Sorry, I'm trying to keep them all straight.
Okay, it's just his father's side. So I'm thinking,
unless a sibling.
Yeah, maybe.
Did his sister say that they had a brother?
A brother. So I'm wondering if it would be the brother that they would go meet. And I'm wondering if at that point, if Relative Ray says, okay, this would be the most poignant for them to meet. So we will deviate where we were going to send them on the next
I
day.
thought about that too.
And send them to the one that they know the audience is most going to want them to see.
Yes.
Because I'm really, really thinking they wouldn't go to all this trouble without filming it. So, yeah. So I'm hoping it's a brother. That's what I'm hoping is it's that brother. So we'll see. But I'm gonna miss them in the race.
I am too.
I'm gonna miss JD's calmness and his just sense of just being in awe of the whole situation and his acceptance of, this thing that's happened in his life, this revelation 12 years ago that the man who raised him was not his biological father. He's just gentle, and I think he's a good example of people going through things, through challenges in a way that's positive and uplifting to everybody else. And so I've appreciated their relationship as well on the show. Sometimes, you get the husbands and wives really going at each other, and so I've really appreciated them for that too. So does anybody else have anything they would like to say about day 7 and the tears and the emotion, and other than I was sobbing like a crazy lunatic afterwards, and it just really touched my heart. All of the stories that I cried that Team Black had its last day.
They were all upset about that, and it's going to be hard the next episode when they're. Well, I guess they'll be there because they're going to have the golden ticket to do that.
Right.
But then it'll be the next one they won't be there, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So day 9 we'll only have 3. We'll only see 3 teams. And yeah. Now there's a possibility.
So that means that.
Go ahead.
So that means each one of them have a golden ticket. So as each one of them gets kicked off, they have that golden ticket. So they'll be there for another episode. So I guess does this be like the first season that the teams are they're longer than what they were in the past?
That's right. This is the first time they've done this. Yeah, it's the first time they've done this. So I really like that they did this. I think it was a good addition. Because and I know that we've all said, what's going to happen? They're not going to meet these relatives, and we've all been assured that yes, they get the information, but we want to see it, and that's what they've done. They've enabled us to see, those reunions and see the reactions and see who they meet, and that's what we want. We as fans get very invested in this show.
I thought they did it one season before, where they let the team.
They let the black team last season. They let the black team go, and I think it was their aunt, because remember they were looking for their father, and she didn't know where he was either. And so I think that worked out so well that's why they've done that for this season.
Yeah.
And I really appreciate the fact that they're doing that. So next week we're on day 8. We're coming to the end pretty quick here. So won't be too much longer before we're on day 10, and we're done past the relatives. We're going for that money on day 10, and it'll be interesting to see what they do. But I also want to tell everybody before we end tonight that when we're done with our little portion here of GenFriends, that we have a special bonus that will be added to this to GenFriends, and that is an interview with Dan that I was able to do at RootsTech London, and tried to pick his brain about some things, but he's good about keeping things he's not supposed to say and kind of giving you a little tease about other things that are coming up. So stay tuned after we say goodbye, and the interview with Dan will be added to our recording tonight. So I hope that you will enjoy hearing a little bit from Dan as he talked to me at RootsTech London. And for those of y'all that did not get to go to RootsTech London, I want you to know how popular the show is becoming in Europe, and how many people from various countries actually went up to Dan and talked to him about how much they love to watch the show. And so I think that was he really appreciated that, and I appreciated hearing that too. So it's spreading in popularity all over the world, which is really fun. And I want to tell you one other really quick funny thing before we leave. I was staying with a niece and her husband. The husband is from England, and he was telling me how much he loves the green team. And he says it's because DeShay's accent is so heavy, he can't understand her. Mm-hmm. That's so funny. I just laughed at him and thought, I've never had one bit of problem understanding DeShay. I think that's hysterical. He said,
most of us that live in the South don't have a problem at all hearing DeShay.
No, but I haven't heard anybody else say they had a problem either. I laughed at him, and he said he needs the subtitles because he can't understand. So he's actually rooting for the green team because he wants to keep her on because he has so much fun trying to understand what DeShay is saying. So I just thought that was really, really hysterical that he couldn't understand her because her accent is so thick. I don't think her accent is thick at all, but you know, you can hear people if you're not used to the cadence and the rhythm of an accent. Sometimes it's hard to pick it up, and that's probably what's happening. So with that, that's our wrap up of day 6 and day 7 of Relative Race. And we will be back next time for day 8. And I'm sure it's going to be another heart-wrenching whole box of Kleenex episode. So get yourself prepared and know that we will then be back on to talk about our feelings. And I'm proud of us, ladies. I'm proud of us. We didn't tear up. We were wondering how we were going to get through this without tearing up. It was an emotional episode. So I would like to thank you all for being here. I'm going to start coughing really bad in just 2 seconds, and I'm sorry about that. But thank you so much for being here and putting up with my scraggly voice. And we will see you next time on GenFriends. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
See if it's recording. Now it is. Hi, I'm here with Dan from Relative Race. We are in RootsTech London, and I am asking him for some scoop on what's getting ready to happen. We are on day 6 as we talk about this. Well, I've watched day 5. Day 6 is coming up. So what is getting ready to happen on Relative Race?
Well, we're here in London, so we missed the last episode, the inaugural RootsTech in London. Everybody's pretty excited about it. And you know what surprised me is how many people here in Europe watch Relative Race. They have to stream it, obviously, and I've been really impressed by that. It's pretty cool to see the international reaction to Relative Race as it grows. But as you mentioned, you and I both have missed the last episode because we were here. But I will tell you this, that there are more surprises happening on this season. There's a golden ticket.
Oh, golden ticket.
There's a golden ticket. In fact, I can't remember now if it was this last week or if it's the week coming up. I can't give too many things away. But there is going to be kind of this aha moment that's going to make, I think, all of our fans happy. We always kind of reevaluate the show every single season. And we think not only how can we make it better production value-wise, but how can we make it better for our fans, for the viewers. And we recognize that there's a lot of reasons people tune in, but ultimately it is always about family. And so we try to tweak the show not only to make it more entertaining, but to try to make sure that we are able to really clasp onto, engage, and further those really emotional ties of when they get to meet their family and how much time they get to spend with their family, and then trying to ensure that they're on the show for as long as possible, because once they receive 3 strikes, they're gone.
Right.
And so,
and
honestly, there's a little tweak. There's a little tweak.
Good, because we all get mad.
Yeah.
We all get mad.
So there's a little tweak. There's a little tweak this season that I think you guys are going to like. It's
fabulous.
Fun. It's fun. It's different.
What about future? What about the future?
Season 7. We are casting for season 7 right now. I can tell you that some of the casting auditions that we have got, oh my goodness. Every time I think that we couldn't find better stories or better people to be on the show, we have some good options. Now,
great.
of course, we have to start the research immediately, because while it starts with the casting calls and the great stories, we have to then find the relatives and make sure that they will agree to be on the show, that they want to meet their family members, et cetera, et cetera. And we're in that process right now, and it's looking pretty good. Now, I will tell you, I do have some news. Let me see. Can I say this?
Do tell.
Maybe so.
Do tell.
Maybe I can. Don't hate me, BYU TV, if I'm not supposed to say this. We have been Lensworks Productions, the company that produces the show. We have been tasked, we have been asked, and we have been back filming right now 15 webisode series that are going to air online. Now, there's conversations that they might also air on broadcast, but right now they're scheduled to air online, and they are 15 webisodes where we are going back to 15 couples over the first 6 seasons. We've chosen 15 couples, and we've gone in and we've said, take us back to your first moments on the show, and then most importantly, tell us, have you stayed in touch with your relatives since the show?
Yes.
And we have some amazing stories.
Oh,
some
that
amazing
makes me so happy.
Updated stories.
Because on GenFriends, we're always saying, we want to know, we want to know.
You're going to
find
out. You're going to find
Fabulous. Out. So you're in London with Relative Race. Why are you in London for Relative Race?
You know what? RootsTech has been so good to Relative Race. You would think that it would only be genealogists or attendees, those interested in genealogy. And I think that historically, traditionally, people think that those people, genealogists, attendees to a place like RootsTech, or your fans right here for you, that they're interested in family members that have passed on. What we're finding is so many of these attendees and genealogists are finding ways to create excitement about finding living relatives. And of course, that's what Relative Race is all about. And so anytime we can be in an environment where people there want to know more about our show, then I want to be there representing our show. So it's really a wonderful role for me, because I represent in some way our company, Lensworks Productions. I represent the show, Relative Race, and then I represent the network, BYU TV. And I love those kind of triple roles, and I hope, kind of as an ambassador of goodwill for Relative Race, I hope that I'm able to pull it off. But I love interacting and hearing from fans of the show. I love getting their feedback. I can't believe how many people from, of all places, Germany have come up to me.
Yeah.
I've had, just today, I've had 4 more couples from Germany. One in this last session that I was in. I was attending the session, I wasn't speaking, and she came up to me and really started weeping, saying how important Relative Race was to her and her family in Germany.
That's fabulous.
And I shared with her how my mother and father lived in Germany when they were newly married, and that's the beauty of attending events like this.
Yes.
It's all about family.
All about family. Thank you so much for talking to me.
I love being here. It's always fun to talk with you, and thank you for having me on.
Thank you.
And I hope we have many more conversations for many years about Relative Race.
Me too. Thanks so much. Bye.
Bye-bye.